Let's go ahead and record. Should be good. All right. So we have Team B, Team A, and we're moving on to part 2. Obviously, still the same project, and parts 2 out of 3. Might as well just go over it. It's time to continue into the design development phase and program of the spaces required for your concept from abstract form into formidable space that allows an art supply and cafe store to reside near San Antonio College. The design should consider the site and demographic nature of the position and be ready to use fabrication and modeling techniques in order to further communicate the complex relationships we deal with the practice of architecture. Our first task will be to diagram and design the rest of the form, now based on the proportions of the suggested square footage, rooms, and program. Bless you. A digital model must be made. This could include foundations, walls, columns, and beams, windows, doors, roofs, gardens, interior furniture, and equipment, as well as the 3D entourage, so that we can 3D print the model and can be fabricated in class. We will be putting together laser cutting and 3D printed fabrication to the test and exploring many options we have in communicating the design to our clients. So essentially making a mass model. I've called it a study model, but it's not a true study model like if you've ever taken Bohuslav and he likes tape and we use it to actually study as like a model. This one's more like a study model, but like a mass model. Obviously it's still at 1 to 20, so it is pretty small, and essentially your study model will be at 11 by 17 base, right? So it's the exact as that image that I gave you of our site, right? So that one is already at 1 to 20, but we'll get into some of the details. For the program, probably anticipated. Obviously we have retail art supply space, which is the most at 1,600 square feet. The cafe and seating area itself is about 1,000 square feet. Kitchen and prep, 400 square feet. Storage and loading, 600 square feet. Now this could be for both, like, for coffee grains or coffee beans, supplies for the cafe, but also we need some sort of pallet area. Some of us have probably taken design and seen loading dock, right? This isn't your Walmart 18-wheeler pulls in the back and it's already like way up there. That's not the size of a loading dock that we need. We just need a space, a room where we can put a pallet or two, which is a 3x3 or 4x4 sometimes, right? In our case, we do need 2 diagrams for this, one diagram and 1 study mass model. So in our case, we also have the office and employee room, which is essentially a computer, a desk, maybe a break room of sorts. Obviously some small restrooms, which could be 2 restrooms that are 50 square foot, or it could just be a really large restroom that's maybe unisex, or maybe a family restroom, those kinds of things. Exterior seating, obviously you can use the leftover of the space, right? Some of you guys hopefully realize that the amount of program is only about half the site, right? So again, I would decide what kind of exterior seating or even proposing exterior spaces that could happen here. I don't know about you, but think about it. Our market here is students, architect students. This would be a great place to study or to have conferences. Maybe the AIS actually meets here and has coffee and get some art supplies before they go back to school. So again, treat this as a real project because it might be, right, actually. Not to give too much away, and I know my freehand 2 already knows this, but Professor Eskamian and I have started talking to investors and actually purchasing this lot, and of course making an art supply / cafe since we lost Azles back in 2020. So it seems actually like a profitable idea, at least in terms of investment. However, my main decision would definitely be, does it actually support and help our architecture students? You guys should know exactly what an architect student needs, having gone to San Antonio College yourself. Anyway, there are 2 requirements. The first one is kind of an updated formulation diagram. So kind of just thinking about, some of you guys, bless you, you started abstracting your form, which is great. You started doing some grid, point, line, and plane thinking, so that's great. We kind of want to see that continued, but now with program. This can mean a bubble diagram. This can mean a lot of different things, right? It could be a sketch that you turn into a 3-dimensional form. So we can even have a hybrid drawing on this one. But essentially it's added program plus form and the site info, right? So now it's almost like taking those two diagrams outside. Let's smush them together and add program. What does that look like? I don't know. I'll let you decide, and of course why we do this in Studio. This diagram should show the development of your concept through form studies, spatial composition, or a step-by-step process that is now with a component of the program spaces of the art supply store and cafe. The last one is, like I was mentioning, a 1 to 20 scale model, which is essentially 11 by 17 by 1 inch cardboard base. And then we're going to insert a 3D printed mass model. So no, you don't necessarily have to put furniture in this model yet, but it could be something that you start to think about. And of course, I'll show you some great places. That way you don't have to model a refrigerator, for God's sakes, even though you could just make a box, right? But there are actually wonderful model places where you can download an infinite amount of actually manufactured stuff, right? Actually, it's in the manufacturer's interest to put their models on there. That way architects can choose them like a catalog, put it in their project. Suddenly the client goes, I must have that refrigerator. Great, I know exactly where to find it, who makes it, how long it'll take to get here, how much it weighs, how much it costs. So again, information modeling is definitely where it's at. And of course, what BIM or BIM modeling, that IM stands for information modeling. Anyway, as you can imagine, here's a nice sweet little example of laser cut topography and a 3D printed model. Now, don't get me wrong, this one's got lights. You don't have to go that above and beyond, and no, I'm not expecting you to put lights in your study model or your massing model, if you will, but I am expecting it to have a level of laser cut elements and of course 3D printed elements. So of course I will be going over the topography today, and we'll go a little bit more into 3D printing probably within the next tutorial. But as you can imagine, this is kind of a copy of what at least Team B will get tomorrow. And keep in mind, I make these videos kind of specific to the assignment. So don't get me wrong, Team B might learn from this, but you'll be kind of confused because they're not doing the exact same thing, and vice versa. So first things first, I want to go over that model, right? Because the diagram, that's really up to you. Now, obviously, I'll give you some feedback, and you could do multiple 11 by 17s if you find that you can't put it on one 11 by 17. That's totally fine. I'd probably max out at like 3 though. But in our case, some of you guys may have actually started here because you already have a site model, right? You already started making some buildings, and again, you don't have to like start from scratch. We can use that exact model. Now in my case, I didn't really finish mine, so for the sake of tutorial, I'll just kind of like copy it, right? And I'll probably want my image in there, so I'll unlock it. And if I have any layers that are locked, probably want to unlock that too. But like I was mentioning before, we do now need our topography layer. So the best way to find that, you already know. Obviously, you can actually get some pretty good information from like say a site section. So like if you take the measuring tool and you cut through this, it is kind of interesting because it will show you the elevation, but you'll notice that graph is not to scale whatsoever, right? I mean, let's face it, it's pretty flat out there, but it is actually showing if you were to scale this in Photoshop and get it actually pretty close, it is actually pretty close without, you know, some anomalies of trees and things like that. You know, for instance, the sea level, which is really great because, I mean, if we needed to know like, you know, the sea level of our site compared, you know, to the rest, we could get at that information pretty quickly. Another resource to get at it is also the hydrology and contours map. So if you just type in San Antonio contours and hydrology, if you've had me for D3 or D4, you've definitely heard about this map. But what's great about it is it does have all the topography lines. So essentially we just need a screenshot of both this one and possibly a screenshot of this one, just that way we can overlay them together. Now I've already taken a screenshot in the background, so we can go ahead and add those. So in my case, I really already have this one. I don't need to make another one. And why is Miro freaking out? Quit.
Recording or?
Am I recording? Yes, I am recording. Thank you. Do it later. But yes. Is it recording? Yes. Good. So we actually already have our base map, so we don't actually have to do anything to there. In my case, I'm going to type in picture and get that hydrology and contours screenshot. So in my case, it's in my downloads, screenshots and recordings, and I believe it's not that one. Let's just take it again. Could have swore I got it though. Boop. Command Shift and number 4 if you're on the Mac. Pretty simple there. And I don't need a whole lot of it. I mean, keep in mind, I'm gonna have to trace these topography lines, and luckily our site doesn't actually have a lot of topography lines, so we should be okay there. We'll type in picture to add a picture. Not sure why my screenshots aren't coming up. Where are they going? There we go. Oh, I did have it. There it was. Good to know. So let's get our topography lines, and this is where drawing some of those buildings will definitely come in handy, because then you could pretty much just line it up. As you can see, mine's coming in way too big, but we're not going to make the entire model, by the way. So again, this is actually pretty perfect size. Fake it till we make it, right? There are some lines on there that indicate essentially the lot lines of the lot that's, you know, been surveyed. Keep in mind they don't always match perfectly, so you do have to kind of fake it till you make it a little bit. In my case, it's kind of hard to read just because some of it's transparent, some of it's not. So I'm going to take this piece, profile, material, and give it some transparency. Maybe even more. There we go. Just because I do want to align these as close as possible. In my case, I'm going to find the lot lines because it looks like this lot line right here. See that little white spot? Looks like I can click it into place here. And then I'm just going to scale it. I'll take the reference of that. It's going to go, hey, where do you want to take it? So here's that other line. I'm going to take that one, fake it till I make it, and just scale it up. Voila. Now, I mean, you always want to double check these things, but for the most part, it actually looks pretty close. It looks like the lot line's a little off. Keep in mind the way that these Google images are actually made, right? I mean, it's pretty much photo merge of a high altitude balloon called Google Loon. A lot of people think they're satellites, but they're not. They're actually these high altitude balloons. You may have seen one in the news where they were like, the China satellite. Did you guys see that? And it was like a giant balloon. But did you see what was attached to it? It looked like a satellite, right? And essentially we have thousands of satellites or high altitude UAVs now. And you may have heard of a UAV in like a video game. That's exactly what it is, a high altitude vehicle. Anyway, the more you know. Knowledge is power. I accidentally moved my image. It's okay, we got edit undo, and then I can take both of these and lock them. The reason I want to lock them is, well, I need to trace some topography lines. So obviously I'm going to fake it till I make it today, but as you can see, depends how much you want to get. Keep in mind, if I was going to do like say a rendering, and I knew that I was going to do a three-dimensional rendering of my building, sometimes I do all the work of my topography and get it out of the way because I know that I'm going to use it in the future, right? For the sake of the study model, I'm only going to use 11 by 17, so don't get me wrong, I could just do 11 by 17, but I could help myself in the future, right? Especially in a studio project, and arguably especially in this one, because we will do some 3D renderings. So it might be in your best intent to kind of get a majority, maybe even arguably the same amount that you did in part 1. Does that make sense? Anyway, I know there's not a lot of visual description, but I did want to make sure that we kind of get that recorded. That way you're just not absolutely lost. But in our case, we got to trace it. So let's make some topography layers. Boop. I usually call them topo. And let's face it, I usually make them green. We'll double click to enact that and start tracing. Right, so in my case, I'm going to start tracing the curve. But for the sake of tutorial, I'm just going to go as fast as humanly possible. This is where I'd bust out my Wacom. And I literally just trace it with my pen instead of using my cursor. As you can see, the cursor can only go so fast, even with my ball, my trackball mouse. But yeah, we essentially have to trace all this. It's true. You do a lot of tracing in the digital realm, which is why we have these Wacoms, right? So that we can actually still draw in the digital world. Then arguably, just because I need to make small talk during this horribly boring visual, I've actually been testing this local AI model that I run on my computer, in which I give it actually a side view, a top view, and a right or left view, and it turns it into a 3D model without using the internet. It's pretty incredible. I could probably show a demonstration at the end of this course, but I have a feeling in 20 years this is what you guys will be dealing with yourself, and maybe even myself teaching it. In fact, there may be a day where the computer can actually trace this line better than I can. Unfortunately, Vectorize, which is a program you can find on Food for Rhino, it does an okay job, but arguably tracing still is superior. There's just more control, and as you can see here, we've got like a little, there's something to be said about tracing, is what I'm trying to say. You learn a lot about the project by just going, hey, I've literally traced every line of this topography. I know this site, and even arguably more than maybe the person next to you. But for instance, right now, I notice I'm tracing this level, and what does that tell me? That there's actually a little creek here, right? You guys notice that? There's a little creek. So you're learning about the site, whether you want to realize it or not. And the same reason why we do precedence in architecture and Architecture Studio is because very often in tracing that Le Corbusier for the 100th time, you actually start to realize that, oh shit, there's the golden ratio again in all of his projects. You start to learn, of course, by doing. So I don't know, arguably maybe AI will take that away from us and it'll start doing all the learning. But I'm optimistic. If we use it as a tool like Photoshop, then I think we'll be okay. But if we use it as a crutch, then maybe not. I don't know. Hopefully this video ages well. Somebody's watching it 10 years from now and they're like, he was right. But as you can see, this is the boring part and quite therapeutic, really. Anyway, this has been my small talk for today. And as you can see, but again, I'll show this actually on the Wacom maybe later, maybe even tomorrow, actually. We do have 12 Wacoms and we do have 10 students, so I don't like to force a Wacom on anybody, especially when we didn't have enough, because then you'd have to share, and then there's like getting it done in time. Anyway, so I've always made it kind of optional, but I don't know, I'm gonna start integrating it a little bit more often. But as you can see, the world is your oyster right now, and it even has the numbers on here, by the way. So we even know the level of which these topography lines. But see, like Vectorize, it'll close that line. You're like, dang it, I need a full line. So I don't know if AI will ever get that good, but I'm telling you right now, local AI models, look into it, because it is fantastic. And arguably, I'm betting I would invest in local AI because it doesn't require an AI center whatsoever. You get to keep the computing power. It gets to be your internet, your chips, your GPU, and you don't have to share that information with anybody, which is, I don't know about you, but as soon as you put a document in ChatGPT, everybody has that document if they know what they're doing. Anyway, this has been your public service announcement while topography tracing. Anyway, we'll fake it till we make it. I'm kind of a perfectionist, so as you can see, when I'm not talking, I kind of like just go, but when I am talking, I'm a little bit more concentrated for some reason. Anyway, you learn about yourself when you're talking to a recording. Anyway, let's say that was done. I don't know if that'll necessarily work for what we're demonstrating today, but let's say it will. And let's say I magically got all of my topography lines. Essentially, I want to make that 11 by 17, so I would need to find that at 1 to 20 scale. Keep in mind, right now we're at 1 to 1 scale. We're at like true scale. If I print this out, it's going to be real pixelated because it's the actual size, which, by the way, we have an entire site in our computer, which is just mind-boggling. So in my case, I need 11 by 17, so I can calculate that myself using just a simple calculator, and my method is pretty simple. I'll take the amount of inches that I have, so 11, times the amount of feet of that inch per scale, so I have 20 feet per inch, so I'll just do times 20. I have 220 feet on that side, so 220 feet, oh, my bad, 220 feet, and now I need my 17, so 17 times 20. By the way, this works with any scale. So 340 feet, awesome. Got my 11 by 17 at 1 to 20 scale. Isn't that amazing? No other professor will teach you it that way, right? It's kind of one of my learned tricks, and you can totally use it because you took this class. Now, this is actually the kind of crop of my study model. So I'll let this be up to you. If you want it to be center justified, you're more than welcome to, right? Like you can basically have the site fit within that 17 model. As you can see, we're going to get a little bit of massing in there. You can either 3D print those or make them out of chipboard, especially with the laser cutter. But keep in mind, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to like watch you make these models, but I want you to use the laser cutter and the 3D printer as much as possible, right? Don't get me wrong, if you have to hand cut some stuff, it's not the end of the world. But this is where we have some decisions. I can either, maybe I want to get the other side of the street, right? And this is what I want to make for my massing model. Maybe I want to skip on the parking. I don't really recommend that, but you know, could be interesting. I could rotate it, right? Maybe we get a massing model where we want to show a little bit of the street and a little bit of the neighborhood. So again, I want to throw a couple of options in there because, well, some of you guys might realize that you want to show maybe the walkway, right, if you will, onto our site. Maybe you show how easy it is to access. So again, what I'm trying to say is our decisions kind of help us influence how we communicate something well. Don't get me wrong, some studio professors go, nope, this is the one that you have to make, that's it, set in stone, and that's okay too, right? But if you're in my studio, I definitely always at least allow 2 options. And then the third option is usually, let's see what you bring to the table. And if it's not enough, it's not enough. If it's over, awesome, you know. But at least for the sake of today, I'm gonna cut where it makes sense to what I traced. And as you can see, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do it up there, so I'm gonna get a little bit of the building down here, and I traced some. Man, I should have just finished tracing. But let's say that was it, and I'm gonna take this and trim it. So I don't need all this stuff on the outside anymore. This is my 3-dimensional study model, if you will. So let's unlock all the stuff that I locked. So we'll take all that, boop, trim it off, trim it off. And as you can see, I only have to worry about the things, and if it doesn't touch, then of course it won't trim off. Actually, I might be able to get that too. Boop, look at that. We even got the massing model. Boop. And we may have needed that information because it had, you know, this data on it, but you can always go back to the hydrology and contours map, not a big deal. But that's looking pretty good. So as you can imagine, I need to make the topography first, so let's go ahead and do so. I think one of the easiest ways to do it is actually just take the piece, take the images out. So usually I hold, you know, something else. Copy, always make a copy, because you never know when you're gonna mess up. But it looks like we got a topography layer up here. It looks like we got a little hill in there. That should be kind of sweet. We have this very interesting layer right here, and it pretty much slopes down, right? And if we didn't know that, we could verify it, right? I could basically go to Google Earth, I could do a measurement again, and we could see which way that's going. So usually the top is always where you click first, and as you can see, it's not going downhill like this, but it is going downhill, right? So that is how we could definitely verify. That's looking pretty good. Let's make some topography layers. Let's do it. So I'm going to turn off everything else. I just need my topography. Boop, boop. All right. But I do need to make individual layers. So I've already traced that, and I don't want to trace it again. So in my case, I'm going to take the intersection point, and basically I call this the cardboard method. So if you can imagine, I'm basically making little strips or little pieces of cardboard, joining them, and there's a topography layer. Nothing too hard yet, right? Now, I only moved it out of the way to kind of make that demonstration, but I want to make the next layer, right? And notice what I do here. So I take a polyline, I take the intersection of the next layer, I go back to the corner, right? And there's my next layer.
Oh, so you got somewhere to line, right?
Correct. That way I always have a completely closed piece. Check this out. Because there, oh, that one actually looks slightly off. Maybe my eyes are just that bad. Let's join that one now. And now that's a separate layer. That's something I can send to the laser cutter, and if it's open, uh-oh, it's not gonna come out of the board, However, now that it's a closed piece, now it'll completely cut out, and now I can take it out, right? So, all right, we got layer 1 at the very top. We got layer 2. We also have another layer right here. Do we have to do anything? Nah, because it's already closed, right? Don't have to worry about it. We got a layer right here. Uh-oh, it's not closed. Now this one actually, since it's a straight line between those 2 points, I could do closed curve. Voila, right? So, I mean, don't get me wrong, that doesn't happen all the time, right? But, you know, when it's available, I try to use all my skills. We got that layer, we got this one, that one. Fake it till we make it. Obviously, just trace it, guys, right? But again, this is why we'll have a job and AI won't, because it won't know what to do on those pieces, where we do. And we know how to make decisions a lot faster. And AI is not really intelligence. Not to get into a whole nother subtopic, but it is one of those things that it's like, it's not sentient. Sentient would be like the light switch becomes aware and knows how to turn itself on and off. That would be creepy. And again, arguably, I don't think that'll ever happen. Why would you even want it to? But I don't know. I do think it's going to fall on our generation to make some of these decisions, which is why I even bring it up, guys. Sorry if I sound like a broken record with these topics, but I think it's kind of serious. And honestly, I'll just be some old man going by y'all's decisions one day. So, I don't know. Got to talk about it somewhere. But we got a layer there. And as you can imagine, that bottom piece is also a layer too. You could also consider this, since we're going downhill, that's actually a full layer. So you saw how I drew that one maybe possibly wrong? That would actually be a layer going back up. Maybe I don't need that. Maybe I want to continue actually going down.
Like the opposite.
Correct. Thank you, Gavin. Yeah, because I want to go back to, especially, this is when it becomes important to know what the topography is doing, right? So in my case, I forgot that it's going down, so I'm going to go ahead and join those. So the next piece, don't worry, we got some time. The next piece we need, and let's zoom into that, boop. We need to basically make a wireframe mode. So I know that this one goes up, I know that this one goes up. Hey, where'd that other piece go? Did I copy the wrong one? Did I do it to this one? Hey, gosh dang it. I could have swore I did that piece, didn't I? Okay, got that one. I guess I'll do it again. Take 2, polyline. You can do it 3-dimensionally too. I don't recommend it, because you can accidentally get all kinds of intersections. Oh, I see what went on. We got a couple lines in there. Anyway, we'll join that one. And we essentially just need to raise it up a foot, right? However, all the ones that go up a foot, I might as well raise them up at the same time. There it is right here. I'll type in move, click anywhere, 12 inches, enter, hold shift, and click. That way I know that is basically a foot up. This will kind of be my 0 point, I guess, for today. So I'll leave that one there, and I'll leave that one there. This one will essentially go down a foot, and this one will go down 2 feet. So not a whole lot of topography going on. In my case, move will go down 12 inches. As you guys know, the topography lines represent usually a foot or sometimes 5 feet. So be careful at the topography map you're looking at. Now in our case with contours and hydrology, it is every foot. So that is the good news. However, we do have a base, and if you've taken me for D3 or D4, you know that I like at least a 2-inch to 3-inch base. So that'll take a couple of layers. So I'll show you what I mean. From here, super easy. We'll just take all of it and we'll extrude it by a foot, and I'll cap it or make it solid. We'll type in 12 inches, and voila, we've got topography. Didn't mean to sound so French, but as you can see, we can start to see that slope come down, right? Uh-oh, I got a weird line in there. Let's go back. When something like this happens, flattening it can be actually very difficult. So like trying to get it like perfectly flat, do not waste your time like sitting there with gumball and like trying to make it flat. The best thing that you can do is actually look at it from the view that you want. So say this top view, and just make 2D real quick and replace it. So in my case, I don't need the hidden lines, top view, good. Don't even need it really grouped there. Should be super simple. And there's the flat piece that I needed. So I'll just get rid of this one. Boop. All right, I like it when I mess up, actually, because I can show you what to do when we all mess up. There we go. Now, I may have put it back in a 0 spot, so I may want to verify the levels, and I think it did. So we'll take that piece. It did. So we need to move it down 1 foot. That's okay. A little bit of critical thinking for today. Won't hurt. But now that it's flat, now we'll take all of them. Extrude. And you can either go down or up. Doesn't really matter in this part, but 12 inches is what matters. And voila. Right, we got some topography. And now it's doing the right thing. You can also check it with the clipping plane. This is kind of a new thing that I usually tell Team A first before I tell Team B. Team B will hear this in exercise 5. But essentially we can make a section pretty quickly. And we can go ahead and verify that it's actually sloping down, and it is. But essentially I call this the cardboard method because, well, it essentially makes each and every layer of that cardboard. So again, clipping plane, cardboard. The next thing that we want to do is actually set it up for the laser cutter. So you'll get a little bit of review on this with Team B when I go over it tomorrow, but I at least want to get it set up. So the laser cutter, at least the one upstairs, is a 24 by 12. Again, if we're doing it to scale, which is 1 to 20, I gotta do that calculation. So in my case, I'll bring up my calculator. I do have to do 12 times 20, because that's the maximum amount of feet that will fit on that table, right, to this scale. So 240 feet will fit, and then we double that to 480, right? So in my case, rectangle, and this will be my laser cutter, so I might as well make a laser cutter layer. All right, double click. Let's go purple or magenta. Rectangle, I need 240 feet by 480. Sweet. And that's my laser cutter bed to 1 to 20 scale. So what's kind of nice about that is I can find out pretty immediately that, hey, my 11 by 17 is totally gonna fit on this laser cutter. It's almost as if your professor designed this with a couple of intentions, right? So that we wouldn't have to struggle or split up the model, right? But as you can see, I can't just cut it all out of one piece of cardboard. In fact, if I did, it's just gonna look more like a puzzle and I won't be able to stack it because I need something underneath to make it, right? So in my case, one of the best things you can do is actually put it all together first, make multiple copies. I know that I need 4 layers, so we'll do my base layer here. So I'll get rid of those. There's my base layer, right? Now that one technically I could make, I don't necessarily need the laser cutter, but if I wanted a perfect 11 by 17, maybe I do, right? Or if I wanted to label it, or if I wanted to laser or etch my name into it, that would be a plus. Now I can get rid of this layer and these 3. See where I'm going with this? Kind of getting rid of the layers that I don't need as I go. These 2 layers. And we'll get rid of that one. I don't know why I have so many in there. It's gonna be a problem. Oh, I know, hey, those will fit, not too bad. And last but not least, we have those 2 on the side. And it actually looks like maybe some of these could even fit onto our previous board. So I don't have to waste a whole piece of cardboard, just for that. In fact, I may realize that some of these pieces could fit on another board. And we'll do some laser cut demonstrating hopefully tomorrow. I don't know, we'll stay tuned. We'll definitely do some this week, but may not necessarily be tomorrow. There's a piece, and I basically just want to make sure that I have all the pieces, right? In my case, I forgot to join some pieces, so that's okay. And last but not least, we'll make 2D. And voila, we have what is ready for the laser cutter. You don't actually need this piece anymore. In my case, I do want to have a couple of bases, right? And keep in mind, this is kind of my laser cut model, but this is my 3-dimensional model, and it looks like I accidentally deleted it. Oops. Show. Oh, maybe I accidentally turned it off. Did I accidentally delete it?
deleted it.
Yeah, it happens. It's okay. We'll go back. When in doubt, always make a copy. I mean, luckily you can go back quite a few times, especially if you have a lot of RAM. There we go. Always make a copy. Because you never know. And in this case, I need a digital model and I need a laser cut model. However, I won't necessarily do that again. Obviously, we can refer to the video for that. And I'll do it again tomorrow anyway for Team B. From here, this is where I can put on my other buildings, right? So my other mass buildings or, you know, just other shapes in general. So not to make this video entirely too long because we're already reaching somewhere. The last thing I wanted to go over is how to laser cut a box, right? So don't get me wrong, I'm sure a lot of us know how to make a box by hand. We also know that we can even score and fold those layers of a box, but some of us may not realize that the computer can do that too, and arguably really, really well. So in my case, let's get one of those buildings that I did. I think I just got like a square or something. There we go. And I think some of it actually, I think I rotated mine, so obviously this isn't the greatest tutorial in the world in terms of like following along perfectly. But if I wanted to make this box, I could. Now, theoretically speaking, I could just laser cut each and every single piece of these, or I can join them and unfold them. So check this out. We can take all of our pieces. Now, in some cases, some of these like curvilinear triangles are gonna get a little weird, but this is really just to demonstrate the point, not necessarily perfect geometry. In my case, I'm gonna type in join first. And as long as all those points are touching, it will join truly, right? If they're not touching, you'll notice that some pieces got joined, some pieces didn't. In my case, I'm gonna make a copy, just because this is my only building I've done so far. And the next tool that is astounding, take any folded object and type in unroll surface. So it's this one right here, unroll SRF. Once you do that, you have a couple of options. We can explode it, which I don't recommend unless you just have a crazy geometry. You can even label it, and of course you can keep properties. Now let's see what happens when we turn essentially everything off and press enter. In my case, it typically makes something around your C-plane. I'm not sure where my C-plane is actually. Oh, is it right here? There it is. Look at that. Perfectly unfolded. Ready to go on the laser cutter, except for this damn piece, right? Obviously I can't have overlapping pieces because if the laser cut hit that, it's gonna cut out this little tiny triangle for me and I'm gonna be like, gosh dang it. Now I can't exactly fold it. However, I could take this poly surface. From here we can make 2D. Now I don't want to make 2D the perspective view, I want to make this exact view. And we got a couple of extra lines, so if you go to properties, you can turn off the ISO curves, which are kind of super annoying in some cases. But as you can see, we have some overlap. It's not going to come out and it's not going to unfold perfectly. And that's okay, because essentially now we can just take this piece, we can ungroup it, and we could go as necessary. Ungroup. Dang, doesn't want to ungroup. Explode. There it goes. Alright, so we can actually cut these piece by piece, and you can refold them. So like in some cases, you'll realize, oh wait, if I just rotate this one, you know, I actually get the piece that I need there. Right, so don't get me wrong, we don't have to start from scratch every single time. And before unroll surface was a command, this is what we did. Right, we literally made 2D, we'd rotate these, and it took forever. And nobody in the world said, hey, student Verret, would you like to know about this command called unroll surface? No, I didn't learn until much later, right, that you can unroll essentially any surface. So let's take another, maybe something simpler like a box. So a lot of us did, you know, kind of box-like elements, or possibly even for your abstract model, that doesn't have to be laser cut. So just wanted to specify, the only thing that needs to be laser cut are the buildings and the topography. Your building, your abstract model, and the way that it connects should all be 3D printed. And I would say refer to the next tutorial for that one. We will get into the thick of it. But this is just laser cutting for today. So let's say I had an irregular box. I don't know, something like, here's my building. I don't know. there's my building, right? And we extruded it, and we made a massing model. And there it is, right? I could do the exact same thing, so unroll surface. And enter. And voila. Again, I've spent hours of my life wasted, you know, when I could just have been making these my entire life. But as you can see, it got the perfect box and it got every shape, but some of it overlaps on each other, right? So be very careful. We'll explode this and we'll take the parts that will stay together. So that makes sense. I can unfold that pretty easily. So I'll take these. Oh, we'll get that. Oh, can't use that one. So we'll use that guy. This I'll join back together and basically go, okay, there's my first piece. All right, that one's looking okay. And oh, we got a lot of overlap on that one. That one's not going to work. So I'm going to take this one and this one, put it over here. Voila, that'll work. So instead of printing a million pieces, now I've just got 3. So not too shabby. Obviously, don't do that to your piece. Let's just rotate it and get it on our laser cutter. So the next thing I need to do is actually get my laser cut. And since this is already 1 to 20, I can copy it as many times as I want and go, okay, here's building number 1. All right, building number 1 is gonna fit as long as I rotate it, get some pieces. Now you can join these because, again, as soon as you accidentally move it, it's like, oh my God, what have I done? Join them. And again, last but not least, we want to make 2D. We always want to make 2D from the top view, that way it's perfectly flat. Awesome. Of course, it's going to produce that file for us. And we can get rid of the original. You shouldn't, but I always do just for ease. Oh no, but maybe I shouldn't because I need some of that information. In fact, I needed to know where they folded. Oh, there it is. So I may need to go back in and go, oh, you know, I need some score lines. So in my case, I may have a cut and a score layer, which you'll see a little bit of tomorrow as well. Cut and score. Because we can do both in the laser cutter. In our case, red is the score line for our laser cutter, and blue is a color for cutting. Now, keep in mind these do have to be the exact color. How many of you guys have used the laser cutter before? Gavin, have you?
No, I didn't.
Never have? These do have to actually be the exact same, the exact color. So it only reads blue and red, not slightly off red or not slightly off blue. It'll literally show up like nothing's there. But in my case, I know that all this will essentially be cut. So I'll switch that object to cut, so it'll turn blue. Then I'll switch to my score layer and obviously put in some of my information. So right now, oh, there's the score line that I need. Because essentially I want the laser cutter to cut out the blue piece, but then I want to be able to fold that red piece. Does that make sense, guys? Anyway, hope it's all coming together. We'll finish up that piece right there. So I need a score line and probably a cut line actually there. It's going to fold on one of these, and I have a feeling it's going to fold on this one, not this one, because there's a little bit of excess. So, although it seems like, oh, there it is. So it looks like that one's going to hit, and that one's going to hit somewhere. This one's actually going to be a cut line. So we do have to critically think about these things. There's no magic button yet. I'm sorry. I arguably don't even think AI will be able to do something like this without honestly effing it up. But there we go. Bless you. And now we're ready to go. Now I can cut this out on the laser cutter. I'll essentially get 2 pieces. I can fold that one, I can fold the other one, and Bob's your uncle. Now the last one that I need is this one, and that one, yeah, arguably could use some more lines. In my case, if I wanted to make this easier for myself, I would actually explode it. I'll turn off the ISO curves because I hate ISO curves sometimes. There we go. And just make 2D. That way it'll actually get these in-between lines that I need, because I need those exact measurements. Otherwise, well, it's going to fold wrong. So we'll do make 2D again. Voila. And of course it should produce, yep, those score lines that we needed. So there's that last piece. Forget this guy. You're useless to me. Look at you. You're just a bunch of lines. There we go. And I will change this to cut. And of course the middle ones to score. And just like that. Now, when I was at SAC, we used to do this, but we draw it, we draft it. We draft the whole box and how it was folded. Now the computer can do some of this for us, but at the end of the day, we still have to critically think about where something folds, and you still kind of almost have to imagine once you have this piece, wait a minute, oh, I need it to fold this way, those kinds of things, right? So it can't only cut one way. It can only cut from the top, and I can only fold one way. As soon as I fold one way and need to fold another way, crap, right? I may need to actually let go of one of the score layers, maybe even do a dash line, and that could be folded both ways, right? So here's a little bit of the secrets, right? You can turn this into a dash line. So essentially line type, and we'll switch it to dashed, but it will actually cut a dash line on the laser cutter as well. That's really great because, well, two things. It's really great because I can fold it now back and forward, but keep in mind, the more that I do that, eventually the material will snap, right? And this is true of cardboard or of anything. However, this dash line is ugly as sin on a model. Try not to have it, or when you do, try to cover it up in some way. I will say that, right? Such as museum board, let's face it, some boards, they actually burn a little bit more, and doing a dash line is like, oh my God, it looks like it was done in a laser cutter. And the entire point of a laser cutter and a 3D printer, guys, is to make it look like it was still hand done, right? And just smells like it was on a laser cutter, which, by the way, I kind of like that smell. But at least for the sake of tutorial today, and as you can see, we'll recap. We've really only gone over the study model, right? So, and just the laser cutting portions. So we did a little bit of topography and how to get that. We used the cardboard method in order to obtain that. We physically modeled it, or I should say digitally modeled it. That way we can have a digital study model. But then we also set up some pieces so that we can actually fabricate and produce this in a physical reality. So we also went over the unrolling surface and how we can make simple boxes, simple shapes, simple roofs, these kinds of things in order to get them ready for the laser cutter as well. However, in part 2, which I'll probably do Thursday, that way you guys can have the weekend to actually get into it, we'll go over some of the 3D printing stuff. So I'll probably make like a faux model. I'll start showing you guys how to model foundations, walls, windows. Honestly, we use the exact same tools, just different shapes. So we'll still be using sweep 1, we'll still be using sweep 2, we'll still be using extrude, but the way that we set up these profiles, you know, that is definitely where the learning will come in. But for the sake of today and ending this video, are there any questions or something that you want me to go over again, guys? Fair enough? Let's do it.